Jubilee Circle's mission is different. If anybody has ever watched our live streams, if you have ever been to one of our celebrations in person, you know we're different. We are not like any church out there. We're not like any other spiritual community. Jubilee Circle, this is a spiritual dojo. This is the place where people come. They learn the inner moves. They learn the tools that they need to become the light of the world, to remember who they are, to remember that they are the light of the world and that their function in this world is to go out and be that light every single day. We are here to offer you the tools that you need to transform yourself, to expand yourself, to understand that you are the light of the world. You are the unlimited vastness of the holy. And we can help you connect. And we can help you find a community where you can grow, and you can be transformed, and you can transform the world.
Everybody, good morning. Welcome to Jubilee Circle. Welcome to the smattering of beautiful people that we have here in the building with us. I can see all of half of their lovely faces, and thank you so much for everybody joining us out there in TV land. We appreciate you being with us this morning, and welcome if you are looking at the recording that will be posted later. We're glad to have you watching us via Memorex as well. This morning, that doesn't date me at all, right? Nope. So this morning, Memorex, what was that? Mommy, what is Memorex? Yeah, I know, you're too young for that.
I'm way too young.
Yeah, right, you're like 12 now, right?
Pretty much. Next week is my birthday, I'll be 35.
35, yeah, again. All right.
Yeah.
This morning, we are continuing our Via Negativa theme of seeing in the dark. All this via, we are exploring how our willingness to see the world differently, just that simple act of being willing to see through the eyes of the holy, will help bring our darkness to the light. Silence. It's something that many of us cherish, to get away from the background noise of the world that just seems to be constantly abuzz with something. For others, though, silence can literally be terrifying. They may suffer from sedate phobia, or the fear of silence. And like many phobias, they will react with like sweaty palms and shaking and feeling numb. Silence just freaks them out. But you know, the truth of the matter is that everything is sound. Because sound is made up of vibrations, and the quantum physicists will tell you that even the most solid object you believe that you perceive in this world, like this book or this stand, it's all vibrating. It's all made up of matter that vibrates. It may be vibrating so slowly that it's beyond the frequency that our ears can discern, but make no doubt the entire universe is abuzz in some manner of sound, whether we can perceive it or not. And that's good news for sedate phobes, because that means we're never truly in silence. It also means that the universe is constantly speaking. It is eternally trying to communicate with us in its own energetic way. And right now, the world seems really, really loud. There are so many amplified voices of outrage. They are screaming about all manner of perceived injustices. The cacophony of chaos that surrounds us is not, however, an invitation to despair. Instead, when the sounds that we can perceive become overwhelmingly loud, I would submit to you that this is the Holy's invitation for us to tune to those other frequencies that to us sounds like silence. Instead of the frequency of the news shows, how about we tune in to the frequency of the trees, the frequency of stones, of leaves, maybe even a cherished object in your home, like a keepsake from a loved one. Jubilance, everything is sound. The ego loves it loud, but the holy loves that still, small vibration. The vibrations that go deeper than our eardrums, the ones that pierce the soul within us. When all we want to hear, jubilance, is that holy frequency. That holy frequency of love. That's when the whole world gets to say, oh yeah. Please rise as you're able. And we begin our celebration here, as we do every Sunday, by remembering the four elements: the air, the water, the earth, and the fire. Fire it up. Fire in the hole. Fire in the, wait, maybe. Hang on. It's a brand new candle, so it just takes a second. And we burn black sage. And black sage is special. It's a little bit different than white sage. With black sage, you are supposed to set your intention as we burn this sage. And you set your intention for your own personal goals. You set your intention for love in your own life. You set your intention to be love in the world. You set your intention for this place that we love so much called Jubilee, for it to do its work in this world. And so I invite you, as we orient ourselves in this safe time and space by calling the four directions, I invite you, set your intentions, set your love intentions this morning.
Let us turn and face the east. We give thanks, Holy One, for the sound of silence as the sun rises every morning. Help us to appreciate the silence of each morning and use it to reconnect to our soul, your holy presence within us all. Help us to hear the silences throughout our day, the pauses in the incessant noise of our lives where you really live. Help us to make silence a daily practice. Quarter turn to the right, and we face the south. Holy One, as the warm winds of the south begin to give way to cooler temperatures, rekindle in us that fire of life. Teach us to live from the silent center of your divinity deep within us. Stoke the flames of love and compassion within our hearts so that our light shines so brightly in this world that people are drawn to your presence through us. Quarter turn to the right, and we face the west. Holy One, just as the day ends with the sun sinking in the west, help us to sink into your silent, infinite love for us. Help us to let go of any insecurity that keeps us from giving ourselves fully to you, to be used by you, to help anyone suffering around us. Help us to let go of our own selfish desires and open our hearts fully to your generosity and love. Quarter turn to the right, and we face the north. Holy One, remind us that the chilly winds that blow from the north are often the coldness of our own intellect that prevents us from fully loving the world around us. Take us out of our heads, Holy One, and help us live from the silence of our soul so we can embrace our own deep divinity and bring that loving heart into the world. Turn back toward the center. There are many of us who love the sound of silence, and many others who love to crank up the volume of life. We are all on a spiritual journey, one that must include both silence and sound, as we awaken our soul and live from that holy place out in the world. I invite you in this moment, Jubilants, to breathe deeply and have no fear of the silence, because that is where God dwells deep within each of us. And when you touch that silence, you find the only sound you really want to make is when you say, oh yeah.
Please remain standing. You lucky people, you got Jason Mraz last week. You're going to get more this week. Woo! We love Mr. Mraz.
Yeah, we do.
More cowbell. More cowbell, Larry.
No cowbell, but we have Quiro today.
We have what?
Quiro.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we do have Larry's stick later, so look forward to that. The band has too much fun. That's just all we're saying. So this morning we're going to start with a little Jason Mraz called Everything is Sound. And if you're out there in TV, tablet land, whatever, please go to jubileecircle.com and you will find our bulletin for today. You can download it as a PDF and follow along. It will have the lyrics and everything else you need to enjoy this morning. 2, 3, when there is love, I can't wait to talk about it when things get rough. I like to walk with you or when it's night. I like to be the light that's missing and remind you every minute of the future isn't written, not yet. When there is love, when the heart feels heavy, we can lighten it up. If you've had enough, well, you can empty your glass and we can fill it back up. You know it's up to us to make it all up. So what you making up? I can make it up that you could be loved no matter what. You know the only time is right now. It's right where you are. You don't need a vacation when there's nothing to escape from. Singing ha la 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 la, ha la 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 la. Let's all sing ha la 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 la, laying it down. Everything is sound. Let's sing to be happy, to feel things, to communicate, be heard. We sing out to protest and to project and to harmonize with birds. Whether it's your birthday or your dying day, it's a celebration to rejoice, to use your voice, give wings to any old choice. Whatever you're choosing right now, it's right where you are. You don't need a vacation when there's nothing to escape from. Set your vibration and undulation to the highest it can go. And trust me, hear me, if it makes you want to sing, just sing it. Ha la 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 la, ha la 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 la. Let's all sing ha la 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 la, laying it down. Everything is sound. Ha la 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 la, ha la 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 la. Let's all sing ha la 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 la, hallelujah. Ha la 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 la, ha la 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 la. Let's all sing ha la 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 la, laying it down. Everything is sound. Ha la 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 la, ha la 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 la. Let's all sing ha la 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 la, hallelujah. We're connected now. Ha la 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 la, ha la 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 la. Let's all sing ha la 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 la, laying it down. Everything is sound. Ha la 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 la, ha la 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 la. Let's all sing ha la 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 la, hallelujah. We're connected now. Oh yeah. You may be seated. All right, welcome again to Jubilee Circle. We are so happy that you are here, whether you are here in the building. We're getting quite a list of regulars here in the building, so it's good to see the regular crowd, and it's lovely to have you out there joining us from wherever you are this morning. We are here in Columbia, South Carolina, and around the world, thanks to our amazing Jim Mounts. Yes, exactly. Very good. Who gets us on the air every Sunday, and we are very grateful for him. A little bit about us. We, Jubilee Circle, are an inclusive, progressive interfaith community here in Columbia, South Carolina. We teach the timeless common wisdom of love and unity that is found in all mainstream religions, in all metaphysical philosophies, in mysticism, and the teachings of inspired secular and religious leaders throughout the millennia. And we seek to create a space for everyone, whether it's here in the building or in-person events or out there on the World Wide Web, the inner tubes. We seek to create, that is, it's a series of tubes, right? That's what I heard. But we seek to create space for everyone to transform spiritually, to find life's deeper meaning, to love wastefully, to engage peacefully with this world, to do justice, all in an effort to discover how we can live more and more into that higher divine self. But we also recognize we are part of God's good creation. We are formed not just in stardust, but in love and in joy. And we humans, though we are a forgetful lot, we bump our heads on the way out, and we just think that maybe this world is just what We perceive it to be, as you over there and me over here, this land of separation and paradox, and we encounter others as either beautiful or ugly. We have lots of judgments. We see them as either good or bad. We see them as either generous or stingy. We feel that they are loving people or they are recalcitrant people. Exactly. We judge all of this stuff. But let us remember our function here, jubilants. It is to continually return to that home that we have never left, that home of our higher divine self in the mind of God. But while we are here in this body, our function is to embody that love, embody that peace and joy, and become an open channel for the holy here in this world. And so everybody who meets us, for some reason, they just want to say, oh, yeah. See? That's what we're trying to become. Some days are better than others. So next Sunday, October 3rd, we will continue our Via Negativa theme, Seeing in the Dark, and we're going to use music from The Police. It's going to be fun to explore why we shouldn't mind the darkness, but instead we should be mindful of it. Now we're going to do King of Pain, actually. It's going to be fun. And some I can never say her name, Barry Alice? Is that how they say it? King of anything. We're going to do all sorts of Who's Ruling You? That's going to be next week. And just an aside, this will be a surprise to the band. They don't know yet. But on October 10th, I'm not going to be here. I'm going to do something I haven't done in 11 years. And that is take a Sunday off. Usually when I'm not here, I'm somewhere else preaching. And 11 years of doing this, I haven't had a Sunday where I just don't do anything. So I'm going to not do anything on that Sunday. Jay Joslin, who is a Jubilee minister from Asheville, is going to come and speak. He was here about 3 years ago when we were over on Millwood. He's great. He's wonderful. He's a fabulous man. And he will come and present our talk for that day. So look forward to Jay on October 10th. And I will look forward to not being here. So I'm going to go on a little right. I'm going to go on a little silent retreat. So I'm just going to be not around. It's going to be good. All right. Friday, October 1st. This Friday. It always messes me up when it's half September, half of 1 month and half of the. I'm like, oh, that's this Friday. So this coming Friday, October 1st, our open mic and coffee house. Our featured performer is a guy named Richard Strader. No, I haven't heard him either. So it's going to be great. We're all going to hear him at the same time. 7 p.m. on Friday. Then the open mic starts at 8. We have a suggested donation of $10 that just is to cover the food and the drink, and then we take up a separate collection for the featured performer. So we hope that you will join us. We are gathering as safely as possible. Masks are required when you're in the building, unless you're eating, drinking, or up here singing and performing. And we have a big space, so everyone can be socially distanced. So if you feel safe and you want to come, please do. We will be here and have a good time. Are there any other anything else I'm missing that I need to say? Oh, yes. And my partner Beth is in a new play at the Children's Theater, the Columbia Children's Theater, called Grace for President. And she's doing 2 of the shows this coming Friday night. She won't be at open mic. She'll be performing. So if you can't go to open mic and you want to go see Beth and Grace for President, where are they performing? At the Columbia Music Festival Black Box Theater. But go to the Columbia Children's Theater's website and you can order tickets. She's doing the Friday night show and a Sunday matinee on October 3rd at 3 p.m. So we're all going to be there for that one. So never mind tickets for that one. We're buying the whole thing. So, but yeah, right. So come see Beth perform. She has 2 roles. She's Mrs. Barrington, the teacher, and she's also Clara, who is a friend of Grace's. It's about a little girl who wants to run for president. So come and support the Children's Theater. Yes. Anything else? Oh, Keith, the last we heard from Keith, he's still in the hospital, but he's off the ventilator. He's doing very well. He's still in quarantine for the next 2 or 3 days, I think, but he's still in the hospital. Hopefully he'll be released soon. He's in rehab. He's learning to get his strength back. And hopefully, very soon we will have him back here behind us playing bass, because we miss him terribly. So get well soon. Oh, yeah? Did he call you?
Called me, and guess what the first thing was he asked about?
His dogs, of course. He asked about his dogs. He called Bob, and the first question was, how are my dogs? Not how are you, Bob? So Keith has not changed. He is the same guy. So he might, yeah. Hope you're listening, Keith. We love you, man. We want you back. We want you back right now. So take good care of yourself. All right. Anything else? All right. Hear these wise and holy words. Ding. There's a ding somewhere.
Sorry. Thinking about getting rosin because I don't have rosin on my bow.
All right. There we go.
There we go.
What did we say about attention last time? We're not here. We're only here 90% of the time, and that's during sex. So. All right. So I'm not sure where scripture reading falls on the paying attention scale, but I think it's pretty low. So I will try to be dramatic. Here we go. From the Jesus story, Luke 23, 8 through 9. When Herod saw Jesus, he was very glad, for he had been wanting to see him for a long time because he had heard about him and was hoping to see him perform some sign. He questioned him at some length, but Jesus gave him no answer. From A Course in Miracles, chapter 21. The still small voice for God is not drowned out by all the ego's raucous screams and senseless ravings to those who want to hear it. Perception is a choice and not a fact. But on this choice depends far more than you may realize as yet. For on the voice you choose to hear and on the sights you choose to see depends entirely on your whole belief in what you are. Listen to what the ego says and see what it directs you to see, and it is sure that you will see yourself as tiny, vulnerable, and afraid. There is another vision and another voice in which your freedom lies, awaiting but your choice. And if you place your faith in them, you will perceive another self in you. This other self sees miracles as natural. Miracles seem unnatural to the ego because it does not understand how separate minds can influence each other, nor could they do so because minds cannot be separate. This other self is perfectly aware of this, and thus it recognizes that miracles do not affect another's mind, only its own. They always change your mind because there is no other. From Creating True Peace, from Thich Nhat Hanh. The secret of creating peace is that when you listen to another person, you have only one purpose: to offer them an opportunity to empty their heart. If you are able to keep that awareness and compassion alive in you, then you can sit for an hour and listen, even if the other person's speech contains a lot of wrong perceptions, condemnation, and bitterness. You can continue to listen because you are already protected by the nectar of compassion in your own heart. If you do not practice mindful breathing in order to keep that compassion alive, however, you can lose your own peace. Irritation and anger will come up, and the other person will notice and not be able to continue. Keeping your awareness keeps you safe. From the Muslim mystic Rumi. There's a moon inside every human being. Learn to be companions with it. Give more of your life to this listening. As brightness is to time, so you are to the one who talks to the deep ear in your chest. I should sell my tongue and buy 1,000 ears when that one steps near and begins to speak. These are wise and holy words. Thanks be to the holy. All creation is holy word. All creation speaks volumes of the holy. Hallelujah. Oh, yeah. All right. I invite you. This is our social distancing, elbow tapping, fist bumping time. So I invite you to greet one another in a safe and lovely way. Darkness, darkness, be my pillow. Take my hand and let me sleep in the coolness of your shadow, in the silence of your deep. Darkness, darkness, long and lonesome is the day that brings me here. I have felt the edge of silence. I have known the depths of fear. Darkness, darkness, hide in yearning for the things I cannot be. Keep my mind from constant turning towards the things I cannot see. Darkness, darkness, long and lonesome is the day that brings me here. I have felt the edge of silence. I have known the depths of fear. Darkness, darkness, be my blanket. Cover me with endless night. Take away the rain unknowing. Fill the emptiness of right now. Darkness, darkness, be my pillow. Take my hand and let me sleep. Oh yeah. You may be seated. I was reminded in that song, one thing I did forget to mention was that we have a yoga instructor, Malika Daniels, who is doing yoga in the building on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday nights beginning at 6:30. So if you want to come and do a little stretching, a little yoga-ing, it's $15 per session, which is fairly cheap and affordable for folks who want to get into some yoga. So please join Malika here Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday nights at 6:30. Thank you for that reminder. All right. Our song this morning comes from the American rock band no one's ever heard of, called the Eagles. Yeah, but you might not have heard this song, though. This is one of the deep cuts that wasn't really on the radio. It's called Learn to Be Still, and it comes from their 1994 release called Hell Freezes Over. We know all about that, right? Here we go. Here we go. 2, 3, 4. Just another day in paradise as you stumble to your bed. You give anything to silence those voices ringing in your head. You thought you could find happiness just over that green hill. You thought you would be satisfied, but you never will. Learn to be still. Like a sheep without a shepherd, don't know how to be alone. So we wander around this desert, wind up following the wrong God's home. But the flock cries out for another, they keep answering that bell. one more starry-eyed messiah meets a violent farewell. Learn to be still. Learn to be still. If you're on Facebook too much, like me, perhaps you have noticed recently that something very odd is beginning to turn up in your newsfeed. In these instances, you will see a post from someone you don't know, and someone that you would never likely be friends with after you actually read the post. And the reason that you're seeing this offensive post is because one of your friends decided that they needed to correct someone who was wrong on the internet. Now, I say this without any judgment because in the not too distant past, I was that person who had to be out there correcting everybody who was wrong on the internet, so I can empathize. However, after years of inner work, I am now not the person who has to correct all of the wrongs I perceive around me. I have trained myself at least 99% of the time to just keep scrolling. Apparently, there is some algorithmic change that Facebook has recently made, and it is ostensibly to create more engagement among its members. However, what it seems to be truly accomplishing is simply to turn up the volume on the already cacophonous level of outrage that has been permeating this social platform probably since the day it began. What this algorithm is trying to do is to draw you back into arguments that you may have decided before that you don't want to be part of anymore. It's like putting a piece of King's Hawaiian bread in front of someone on keto. And believe me, I know the strength of that temptation. It was Lee brought King's Hawaiian to the last open mic, and I kept walking by it going, oh, God. Get behind me, Satan. I've been handling this in 2 stages. First, I see which one of my knuckleheaded friends is still arguing with a brick wall. I pray for your souls. And 2, I click on the 3 little buttons in the right-hand corner of the post, and I tell Facebook to never, ever, 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 ever show me posts from this person again. It's kind of like playing whack-a-mole, but it's a game of training the algorithm that these are not fertile fishing waters for its insidious game of luring people back into pointless arguments on social media. But do not think that this move by Facebook is random. They know exactly what they're doing. The Wall Street Journal recently did a 3-part series on the tactics that Facebook has been using over the years to get us all addicted to its platform and engage in endless hours of doom scrolling and useless bickering. Back in 2018, according to this report, a new algorithm was introduced that corporate leaders hoped would make Facebook, don't laugh, but they were hoping to make Facebook a kinder, gentler place. Right. That's funny. Well, the newspaper's investigation of Facebook and their internal communications around this algorithm change found, of course, it did just the opposite. It made the platform noisier. It made it even more fuller of more outrage, more misinformation, probably to the surprise of no one who is not a corporate Facebook leader. But in a metaphysical sense, Facebook really is simply a metaphor for the ego-driven world that we live in. The ego knows it has no power over you unless it can deeply engage you in feelings of outrage, feelings of anger, or shame, or fear, or continuous grievances. If it sees you slipping from its grip, say, getting into meditation more, taking more walks in nature, connecting deeply with your friends or your spiritual practices, it will rejigger the algorithms. And it will seek new ways to pull you back into the darkness of its cacophonous chaos. Listen to what the ego says, our reading from A Course in Miracles tells us, and see what it directs you to see. And it is sure that you will see yourself as tiny, vulnerable, and afraid. And that's everybody on Facebook. Tiny. All social media. Tiny, vulnerable, afraid. And this jubilance, it is all by design. But here's the good news. There are two selves inside your head. There is the tiny, vulnerable, and fearful ego self. But there is also that higher divine self that is constantly listening for the voice for God. And we have a choice which voice we pay attention to. If we pay attention to that one that is attuned to the voice for God, the Holy Spirit that speaks with that still small voice, if we really listen to it and for it, it will not be drowned out by all the ego's raucous screams and senseless ravings, as the Course calls it. And we will hear it because we want to hear it. Here's the key, according to the Course: for on the voice you choose to hear and on the sights you choose to see depends entirely on your whole belief in what you are. And Jubilants, I would submit to you this morning that the reason that our world seems especially noisy these days is that we have forgotten what and who we truly are. We are not vulnerable and tiny and fearful. We are the light of the world. We are God's eternal child. When we forget that there are two selves within each of us, it's easier to pay attention to the loud, noisy part that grabs our attention right up front with its raucous screams and senseless ravings. However, I think the increased volume of outrage and grievance in our time is also occurring because more and more and more of us are remembering who we are. We are remembering what we are, and we are seeking to tune that out. We want to turn our attention inward. We want to learn to be still. And the ego, though, like Facebook, is madly trying any and all algorithms it can think of to keep our attention on its raucous screams and its senseless ravings. So many of us on Facebook are trying. We're trying to curate this world, a bubble, if you like, of like-minded spirits that lift each other up. In the Course's terms, we're trying to create a happy dream right there on the screen. But you know, that doesn't serve the ego's purpose at all, so it just jacks up the volume. Make it noisier so they can't hear the voice for God. So Jubilants, we have a choice. We can keep doom scrolling through our own patterns, our own issues and grievances and fear, or we can see through this cacophonous chaos to that holy stillness, that silence that beckons us to listen to it every single moment of the day. And this silence, that's that field beyond right doing and wrongdoing that Muslim mystic poet Rumi talks about. This is the silence where the holy lives. This silence is where our sense of separation falls apart and we understand there's only one of us here. We see through this darkness and into that silence by doing one thing, just one thing on a regular basis. Any ideas? Shut up. Be quiet. The universe is giving us that message right now, loud and clear. A huge, seemingly never-ending pandemic has forced all of us, well, most of us, to cover our mouths. Maybe all these masks are the Holy's way of telling us to shush. Stop talking so much. Start listening more deeply. Not just for the voice of God in our own bodies, but for the voice of God that speaks all through those around us. Perhaps especially those with whom our ego wants to endlessly argue. Instead of participating in the loud cacophony of chaos, adding our voices to the outrage, what if this is the time that we should be practicing silence? What if this is our moment to finally learn to be still? Maybe this time is not about having our voices heard, but having God's voice heard, first deeply within ourselves, and then out in the world when we speak those words of love that we have heard within. What if it's time, Jubilants, to train the algorithm of our ego, that we ain't taking the bait of its fear and outrage anymore? Breathe deeply. 2, 3, 4. Just another day in paradise as you stumble to your bed. You give anything to silence those voices ringing in your head. You thought you could find happiness just over that green hill. You thought you would be satisfied, but you never will. Learn to be still. Like a sheep without a shepherd, don't know how to be alone. So we wander around this desert, wind up following the wrong God's soul. But the flock cries out for another. They keep answering that bell. One more starry-eyed Messiah meets a violent farewell. Learn to be still. Learn to be still. It's so tempting to play the ego's game. I mean, it makes it seem like so much fun, right? You get to be right, or feel right anyway. But we can escape its clutches if we follow Jesus' example. In our reading from the Jesus story today, we find our guy before Herod. He's being tried for sedition because people had become outraged by his brand of activism. And this is what our ego does. It creates so much outrage in the world that anyone who dares to not join in on that fearful fun will get put on trial in some way or another, jeered at or dismissed as someone who doesn't care enough. You're not paying attention. If you're not angry, you're not paying attention. So we get accused of not caring enough to be angry and afraid. So the scripture tells us that Herod, he was happy to see Jesus. He hoped that Jesus would do some sort of trick, give us a sign before the assembly. Maybe Herod was hoping that Jesus would get angry and bring down the wrath of God on his accusers. And that's just like our ego. When it puts us on trial, boy, it hopes to. It baits us with that fear and outrage, and it hopes that we will lose our connection to spirit, lash out against it, and that'll put us right back in the clutches of the ego. We're right back in engaging with its game. The algorithm wins again. But Jesus doesn't do that. The scripture says he remained silent. He answered the cacophonous chaos with stillness. And that's so hard for us. We want to defend ourselves. We want to make the case that we're right, everybody else is wrong. And Jesus, though, in that moment, Jesus knew that no matter what he said or did, he'd just be playing the ego's game. He's teaching us to remain still and not engage with the ego's algorithm. And no matter what Jesus did in this moment before Herod, his fate was pretty much sealed. But we're no different. Our fate is sealed as well. The ego is always, in every moment, seeking to crucify you, to keep you trapped in a game of fear that wants to kill your spirit, and there is no way to talk your way out of it. You just get deeper if you start talking. Life in the spirit, though, it is kind of like Facebook. It is. Jesus curated a community. Perhaps in the end, they probably weren't the best 12 guys, but but they carried his message to this day. We're still talking about the dude, so it worked out pretty well, right? But Jesus also just kept scrolling in many cases. He just refused to engage with the algorithms that sought to draw him into conflict with others. Now, the big difference between Jesus and us, though, is that he didn't exclude those from his community who disagreed with him or resisted him. Instead, he sought to see through their cacophonous chaos of darkness to the light that was within them. And he invites us to do the same, to curate a community of love around us, but not to exclude those who we feel would oppose us. Instead, like Jesus, the Holy invites us to see so deeply into their darkness that eventually all we can perceive is their light. And yeah, if they're doing bad things in the world, right, you gotta work to mitigate the damage that they're doing, the suffering that they're creating for themselves and others. But as the Course tells us, only appreciation is what we should have for our holy siblings. Even those who are so engaged in the ego's game that they don't understand the harm that they may be causing to themselves and others. As Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh reminds us, the secret of creating peace is that when you listen to another person, you have only one purpose: to offer them an opportunity to empty their heart. Now, it's easy to hold space for people that we love, to allow them that safe space to empty their heart. But how often can we be open enough to allow even those we may perceive as enemies to feel safe enough to empty their heart to us? That's not easy. But that's our challenge, to be so attuned to that voice for God that we can become a place of comfort and safety for even those that our egos would condemn and judge as evil or separate from ourselves. They're not like us at all. If we want to create peace, though, we must learn to be still, even in the face of outrage. We must learn to become a space that is so open to everyone we meet that miracles naturally occur, because we have remembered that we are the light of the world, and they are too. All of our readings today, Jubilants, they all agree. The key to seeing through this cacophonous chaos of this world is to approach each moment with awareness and the perception of who and what you truly are. Hahn says, if you are able to keep this awareness and compassion alive in you, then you can sit for 1 hour and listen, even if the other person's speech contains a lot of wrong perceptions, condemnations, and bitterness. You can continue to listen because you are already protected by the nectar of compassion in your own heart. And this is the awareness, the compassion that Jesus practiced as he stood before Herod. This is the awareness that the Course encourages us to have when we listen to the still small voice of God instead of the raucous voice of the ego. Perception, the Course reminds us, is a choice, not a fact. The ego world does not have to dictate how we perceive things. We, Jubilants, have the vision of God, which means we can see in the dark. We have the ability to see light everywhere, even in a soul that we perceive to be the darkest on earth. We cannot use that perception, though, if we're too busy babbling on and on and on, and just adding our ego voice to all of this cacophonous chaos of the world. So first step, what was it? Shut up. Be quiet. Learn to be still. We have to stop thinking that adding our ego's voice to this cacophony out here will do anything to change the world. It is instructive to note that when Jesus finally does speak after his trial, he only speaks words of forgiveness. He forgives the thieves on either side of him as he hangs on the cross. He forgives those who put him on the cross in the first place. And this is where we all must arrive, at that holy forgiveness that literally will save the world. And we don't get there by talking. We don't get there by posting on Facebook, arguing with people. We get there by loving We get there by forgiving. We get there by refusing to engage in the ego's game of fear and grievance and outrage. We get there by being still and becoming aware of which self it is we are really listening to in any moment of our lives. Are we listening to that loud, raucous self of fear? Or are we tuned in to that still, small voice for God, that higher, divine self of love? Thich Nhat Hanh says, keeping your awareness keeps you safe, but the Course says it does more than that. Awareness ends the separation because it makes us realize that there's only one of us here, that no mind is separate. Our higher divine self knows that. So when a miracle changes our perception and we see the light that shines even through the darkness of this cacophonous chaos, then the collective mind that we all share changes because there's only one of us here. There's a moon inside every human being, writes Rumi. Learn to be companions with it. Give more of your life to this listening. As brightness is to time, so you are to the one who talks to the deep ear in your chest. I should sell my tongue and buy 1,000 ears when that one steps near and begins to speak. I invite you, jubilants, sell your tongue. Buy yourself 1,000 ears. Stop talking so much and start listening deeply to the silence that is always here in every present moment. It has so much wisdom, so much peace, so much joy and love to share if only we would learn to be still and give our life to this kind of listening. If we seek the moon inside everyone, that reflected light of love that creates all of us, then we can choose to scroll through that holy news feed of love, which reaffirms the truth about us. We are the light of the world. We are the innocent child of God. And so is everyone else. When that is our perception of this world, then the one mind that we all are will get to say, oh yeah, learn to be still. Learn to be still. Now the flowers in your garden, they don't smell so sweet, so sweet. Maybe you've forgotten the heaven lying at your feet. There's so many contradictions in all these messages we send. We keep asking, how do I get out of here? Where do I fit in? Though this world is torn and shaken, even if your heart is breaking, it's waiting for you to awaken. And someday you will learn to be still. Learn to be still. You just keep on running. Keep on running. Learn to be still. Oh yeah. I invite you in this prayer time. You can approach the prayer table over there if you're in the room and light a candle. But all of us, I invite you in this prayer and meditation time to be still. And I know for many of us, it's hard because the voice in the head just. And there are lots of meditation practices that tell you you need to make that voice shut up. Like that's the one that needs to shut up. But the harder you try to make that voice shut up, the louder it's going to get. So what you do, it's like a little kid that's having a temper tantrum, and you just let them run around in circles until they get tired. When you stop paying attention to those thoughts, they eventually go away. We don't let go of thoughts. We are patient in our silence. We withdraw our awareness from those thoughts, and those thoughts let us go. That's how it works. So I invite you in this time. If it's a cacophony of chaos in your head, that's okay. That's okay. Don't judge it. Just let it run. It might break a few pieces of furniture or something glass. I mean, it might break something. It might. It's okay. Just learn to love those little thoughts that run around in your head. Ah, there it goes. Breaking the fine china. It'll be all right. They'll set the place on fire, but it's okay. Because when you stop giving your attention to the raucous voices of the ego, they get quieter and quieter and quieter. And eventually they let go of you. Because you don't need them anymore. Breathe deeply. Closer than breath, you are the air, sweeter than life itself. You are here. I am a wanderer. You are my peace. so far above. I am the lover, you are the love. Follow your footsteps through the flame. All that I ever need is in your name. Carry your heart and mind, vast as space. All that I am today is by your grace, 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 I live by your grace, by your grace, by your grace, by your grace, I live by your grace, by your grace. That's the way all of us live, by grace. The grace to move from one part of our day to the next, one part of our lives to the next. It's all a grace. Jubilee Circle has lasted 11 years by your grace, by the grace that you have shown us through your support in body, your support in your spirit, your support in mind, and the reality of the world by the support of your monetary gifts. It's the grace we live by. It's the grace we all live by. The kindness, the beauty of others, the generosity of others. Every week I hold this basket and I ask for your grace. And I ask again for your grace, for your support. So we can go another 11 years, another 20 years, who knows? However long Spirit would like us to be here and be doing this to help transform people so they can transform the world. If this place has meant anything to you, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, right now, I ask humbly for your grace, for the grace of your support. You can do it online, jubileecircle.com. There are a couple of ways to give. through PayPal, through Venmo. You can write a good old-fashioned check. P.O. Box 4611. There you go. There's some grace coming right there. That's beautiful. Thank you. P.O. Box 4611, Columbia, South Carolina 29204. We still take checks. So, please. And thank you. Thank you for the grace you've shown so far and the grace that you will continue to give to this community. Oh, yeah. All right, we're going to adjourn to our Zoom room. If you're trying to get into the Zoom room right now, it's not yet open, but it will be in the next few minutes. So please exercise a little patience, and we will have that open for you just momentarily. So we'll see you over there in the Zoom room. And if we are not going to see you in the Zoom room, y'all in the room are welcome to stay and Zoom with us. But if you're not going to, have a lovely week, a blessed week, an amazing week. Remember, sell your tongue this week. Buy 1,000 ears. Listen more deeply. Listen more deeply for the voice of God. Listen more deeply to those around you. Because when we listen deeply, one of the things that happens when we keep listening is that we get deeper and deeper into our own generosity. We get deeper and deeper into our own gratitude. And remember, as Meister Eckhart has reminded us, if the only prayer you ever say is thank you, that will be enough. Because gratitude is really all that we are asked to live with in this world. And so together we say, thank you! And we say, oh yeah! We all walk together, hand in hand, side by side. We all walk together with hearts and arms open wide. We make our way by walking in love, we will abide. The path is always open and no traveler is denied. So open up your heart, forget those tears you cried. Because we all walk together, hand in hand, side by side. We all walk together, hand in hand. And side by side. You got more? There you go. All right, join us over on the Zoom, everybody. The link is at jubileecircle.com. If not, have a lovely week. Oh, yeah.